Hello, and welcome to episode 112 of the Hardly Millennial podcast, where we are young, dumb, and full of
opinions.
Ladies and gentlemen. Our guest today is Austin Bradley. He is an entrepreneur, a videographer, editor, video guru.
Acrobat.
Safe to say? Acrobat.
little bit of everything there.
Lower that bar. Holy smokes. They're going in here inspecting some kind of insight that I am not going to be able to match. Holy smokes. Okay.
Well, welcome, Austin. Welcome back from quarantine.
Oh, yeah.
That's going on still. That has been stopping me from doing a lot of things I want to do project-wise, but in the meantime, I figure I might as well learn as much as I can, so it's kind of been somewhat productive for me.
Yeah, that's all we've been trying to do, too, is stay as busy as possible, but we've also spent a lot of time watching a lot of TV, so...
Yeah, I mean, that was me, too, at the start of this, but, like, I actually just, like, burnt out on the games, you know? It was, like, too much, and it was like, okay, I'm kind of wasting a good opportunity here.
Oh, yeah.
Because I won't have this much time to just sit around and, you know, learn anything I can.
Right.
So, especially with the internet being the way it is, you can
teach yourself a degree online.
Anything, so.
And you've been working on getting your own YouTube stuff up and going, yeah?
Yeah, I started strong. I still do plan to. It's just that I can't get the content that I want to put on, which would be like filming an act and making it a high quality, something you wouldn't really find on another YouTube channel or Facebook page for that matter. And I just kind of want to do that at a somewhat consistent pace because I feel like there's a lot of talented circus artists and acrobats and stuff like that would really like to have their stuff filmed, and I feel like would love to collaborate on something like this. So once the quarantine is over, you know, that it's all on from there.
Oh, yeah.
I actually did start the YouTube channel already, and I put the first video out, but I didn't really tell anybody.
It wasn't like a premiere.
It was like I didn't want to like go to this channel and then
Do you want to tell us what it's called?
Comes out with it.
Does it have like an official name yet?
Yeah, it's AB Filmz Circus.
Oh, just AB Filmz Circus. I like it.
It's the same AB Films. Circus.
That's
cool.
It might change.
So the whole point of the YouTube channel, though, is it just to put videos and stuff up of like circus people and just saying like, hey, here's Cirque life, and just like encompassing the entire, like everything that is the circus or Cirque specifically.
So there is another Cirque channel that I saw, Cirque Life, that had around 53,000 subscribers, something like that. But that channel kind of already does that pretty well. I feel like they already show the Cirque life and the Cirque aspects and behind the scenes and stuff like that. I would say this is just more so a cool video highlight reel of a person's act or something like that. But it'd also be like tutorials related to circus or something like the history of tramp wall. I was working on something with Wellington Lima. He's super into tramp wall, the history of it. He loves anything that people are doing to push that game. Junk Tramp's got some really interesting stuff going on with their YouTube channel, and Tanner's doing his stuff with the tramp wall competitions. And
that's Tanner Markley of Off Axis, just for you guys at home.
And also, do me a favor, move your mic a little bit closer to you if you could.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, you're all good. This is I say this like every podcast, but this is exactly why I need a sound engineer one day, so I don't have to be the guy doing all of that.
That's all you get. The little Pico Gear wireless, man.
Yeah, touche, dude, touche, or lavaliers, man, something like that.
So spanning like everywhere from people's demo reels to the history of tramp wall. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just so fully going in and out of circus, the people of it, and the history.
It's almost like a tool then for circus people, almost to learn about the art that they're in and look at different tutorials and what's going on.
Maybe that's a little too deep.
Are we getting ahead of yourself here?
Like y'all ahead of me on this, you know. But, like right now, it's just a chill look into the circus life and just highlighting the talents. And maybe we do something like with Tramp Wall, because I feel like that's a community that's growing. The tricking community, for instance, like maybe it's not something that's necessarily circus, but a lot of the acrobats and the circus community, it's pretty tightly knit. Like I feel like a lot of the circus community knows a lot of divers, a lot of gymnasts, and tricking stuff that's not circus, but it falls into
you could
the
find them
acrobat.
at a circus.
Yeah,
you know?
it falls into the acrobatic job, because that's probably where you're going to end up if you do want to stick with flipping and somewhat making money. But it's a highlight of all that, and maybe a little bit of history, maybe some skits. We've thought of some trampoline skits that'll be pretty funny to do, and
that's cool.
Kind of like what Junk Tramp's been doing. They've been doing like the funny little skits.
Junk Tramp's been killing it, man.
Yeah.
What's Junk Tramp?
Junk Tramp, they have a whole tramp wall set up and everything it's in their backyard, right?
Yes, I've never actually been myself.
Neither have I.
I've been meaning to go.
A lot of circus people know of Junk Tramp, and they're based in California. But yeah, they have like this whole setup. It looks like it's in their backyard, but they've become really popular. But basically, they're a team of really good tramp wall artists. But they're always making these funny skits and everything and posting them on YouTube and TikTok.
They do like the box game, and they got like the beef going on with Jake and Garrett. They
start
play
their
it
own
up
drama
good.
with everyone.
Okay.
Like, if you go on to be on the team, you're gonna have to like show us your stuff, stuff like it really feels like some Disney level conflict going on.
I like the little, the little plot they got going on there, man. I dig it. That's good content. It's good content. I hope my stuff can entertain like that. But mine'll be like more like just showing an act in a high quality way, I guess.
Right. Trying to give exposure and get exposure.
It's giving exposure. Kuma Filmz is a YouTube channel that pretty much does what I'm thinking about doing.
Okay.
And they're a pretty popular channel, but Kuma Filmz basically goes around, and they've done stuff like Sear Wheel, and they're a little more broad, but it's like they did one on weighted pencil spinning, and I forgot the name of the tops, but they show the accuracy of how people do the string with the spin tops, and they can put it on the fingertips of their hands and throw it onto the top of a hat. It's it's good stuff. It's just crazy. But they film it really well. It's really entertaining to watch, and I just want to do something like that, but maybe more circus. And there was a Greg and Ariel's Chinese pole act. It's like a beautiful Chinese pole act, and we were filming it, and that's kind of like where the idea maybe had started. And I used to do like when I was at Pirates, I was part of that show, and I would also come in sometimes on my day off and like film, and like it was at first to like film for their demo reels so they could like use the footage and it'd be good footage to have.
Right.
But then it was like, I have all this footage, I might as well make a little montage, and it was like, it was really cool. And I do that with Pirates, but I very first did it with Medieval Times.
Okay.
And I did that with Medieval Times, and that was
I saw that video. I remember that.
Yeah, it was like a little vlog when I was staying in Myrtlewood, and like we went, saw the show, I filmed it, and I was still like learning cameras at the time, but it was like when I had all the fighting and stuff, it was like really cool, really high intensity mixed with the vlog, and that might have been the seed that was planted. But, I just kept messing around with these, little videos when we were on Russian Swing and stuff like that. And we made a little Russian Swing video. And then, like, I have all these videos made. And eventually it's like I might as well just start a channel. Just doing these same things, but on YouTube now. And maybe a little better with me talking and being a talking head and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, since you're getting the footage anyway, and since you enjoy making the content, why not start a whole channel for it?
Yeah, exactly. And... man, I had, this was definitely more on the ambitious side of things, but like I had this whole idea for like to make a trailer, not an actual movie of the circus thing, and like it was supposed to be very Black Mirror-esque, because technology's rapidly evolving, and then you have stuff like maybe like an advanced version of what Dave Matz does with the hologram stuff, and it can copy the movements, but like if you could imagine that for a circus where you're watching performers, but it's not performers, it's the projection, so they don't have to deal with the actual risk.
I see. Okay, interesting. Yeah.
But people kind of watch it for the actual risk of it as well.
Right.
There's a factor to that. And like the main character was gonna be like the only one who believes still and authentic. Like no. Like,
that does sound just like a Black Mirror episode.
It
really does. Like I could see that right now. Like the whole twist at the end is pulling back the curtain. There's projection of somebody doing a somersault.
I was gonna say the twist at the end was gonna be they were doing a show, but he was actually gonna be out there for real. And
see, there you go.
He was gonna get hurt for real, and it was supposed to be a shock to the audience that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, shit, it's Charlie Booker, if you're listening. Right here, season 7, episode 1. Yeah, there you go.
It was
Austin Bradley is his name. Make it happen.
So we were talking about this before we started the podcast, and we made all of us shut up about it so that we could talk about it on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
But you were talking about this dopamine
detox.
Yeah,
detox.
detox.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Oh man, it's I just sometimes like when I'm editing or I'm trying to learn something new, there's like I don't know, it's like I just can't focus on it. It kind of feels like a drag or something like that.
For
and
sure.
It's not like because I love filming, I love doing the edits, but
you get distracted by all the electronics.
Where I just cannot sit myself down and edit, and but it's kind of been like that for client side stuff too. And it's like, why do I keep waiting to a deadline for that to be the motivating factor that gets me?
That's my biggest issue.
Yeah.
Is I'll wait till the last minute. I'll put out good work during that last minute, but it's the point that I'll always wait until
you
then.
don't always like the procrastination.
But it's a little bit more than that, because it would be like I would start a project normally, and this is for like personal stuff. So normally when I would do a personal project, that I would start the edit and I'd be super motivated, and it'd be like the first part of the video is like really cool. I'm doing all these cool effects and intros, and then it'll progressively get lazier throughout the video. Like I'm not keeping that same energy because maybe the edit takes a little longer, or I thought to myself,
find something else that interests you.
Well, no, or maybe like my I'll fix it in post attitude was a little bit too much, and it made the edit like a lot longer than it needed to be. But it was anytime like I bumped into like a kind of wall, that project would go from like something I probably could have finished in 5 hours to like weeks, because I would come back, hit that wall, maybe work at it a little bit, and then go play video games and turn to other things. And I didn't think much of it. And then I was like, well, let me look up how to get past that block, writer's block or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I just came across a dopamine detox that I think it was on the Universal Man, that channel Universal Man, that went into pretty in depth with the dopamine detox and the reset ritual. But it's basically you just take a day to get away from all the social media and the video games and stuff, the stuff that causes unnatural high levels of dopamine.
Yeah.
That's essentially what the molecule amour, or whatever they call it. And that's where the happiness comes from. And when it's sucked up by all the video games and you constantly on your phone and social media and stuff like that, your level of dopamine to be stimulated is now up here, and your work is now down here. You're not getting any joy out of the work, so you just will naturally not want to do it. And so like you have to give yourself some time away from that so the levels drop. It's basically just making yourself bored till the bored stuff is fun.
Gotcha.
That's the super simple way of saying it, but like there were science experiments behind the stuff, because people don't realize how strong it actually is. And when when they did this experiment, they did it on rats, and I'm gonna butcher the actual scientific term.
We do that all the time on here. So.
Yeah, it's all right.
They put like I guess you'd say like an electrode or something on the rat's brain, and they put a button in the cage, and when the rat would press the button, it would give the rat a dopamine hit. And they were like, okay, well, this rat would keep hitting the dopamine button. You know, he would do it over and over again until he was overstimulated, and then, you know, he'd rest. But they started doing more with it. Like, they put food on one end of the cage, and then, like, the dopamine button on the other side, and the rat would choose the dopamine button over the food. And then they put the food on one side, the button on the other, and then they put a electrical mat. And the rat would still crawl across the electrical
get that
mat,
dopamine.
you know, to go hit the little nut button or the little dopamine button.
Like it's drug, yeah.
And so it was like, you know, he was choosing that over food. And I guess the way it relates to me, it was like I would know I needed to finish some edits for a client or something for business. But as soon as it wouldn't even be like occurred a little problem. I would naturally just go to my dopamine button. So that'd be social media. It'd be the video games.
For that instant gratification.
For instant gratification, yeah. And
that makes sense.
And that stuff it sounds like really small, you know?
Yeah,
but
it's
all
small
up,
things though, yeah.
It's a little bigger than you think, because it's like unnaturally high, you know? And if you find like, because people will let it get to a point where like it starts affecting you financially because you're playing the games a little too much. Like I used to be really bad when I was young, because like I had like a bad World of Warcraft phase, like like it was super bad. Like,
I feel like nobody has a good World of Warcraft phase. It's like it's like you're either in it or you're not.
Like it was bad, man. It was like these were easily 10+ hour sessions. Easily.
I was the same way with things like The Sims or the Roller Coaster Tycoon games, SimCity, all those like build games.
But
I was so into.
Those are very lowballed numbers. I was probably way worse. Way worse. I'm being really generous right now. But like, man, it was. But yeah, like but you know, looking back, it was because, you know, I was just locked into it.
Yeah.
It was like the dopamine lock, but it was the most fun I was having at the time. And that, like, stuff like that is really powerful. It's really powerful. And then when you do the dopamine detox, and it's like you have to make yourself bored, it's actually insanely hard not to want to like reach for your phone, like,
I'm
and
sure.
just have it turned off. And like,
what do you do? Do you like lock it away, or do you just
I just keep it off, but I keep it around, because there are some times where I'm like, maybe there's that emergency. But it just stays off for the most part. I do check it around like 1 o'clock to see if there's any serious calls or anything like that came through, because I just don't want to like have a client that like you know, like, like, nah, man, I'm on dopamine detox.
can't get a hold of me.
But that I do check it, but like during the dopamine detox, you're just so bored, you know. Like I had prepped myself for it. I don't read ever, so I was like, I'll get a book, and like, you know, like on Sundays I'll make this a time to read. Right. And I mean, it's so far it's been working. Like I slowly feel the motivation building. I might have put the energy too much towards Blender and learning 3D stuff right now versus the actual filming, but it's still learning something. It's still
you've been working on that motion capture stuff.
Yes. Yeah. That oof. Ooh, that thing's a whole.
So doing it just one day a week though, like, I mean, has been helping.
You have to. Because for me, there's some deeper stuff that are dopamine hits that I'm also trying to cut out. That's a little deeper than video games.
Right.
Yeah.
But like it's the main idea behind it is that you have bad habits that are your dopamine locks. Like the things that typically are your dopamine triggers are your habits. And so if you could just replace the bad habits with good ones, then you would just naturally live a better life because your habits would be good.
Oh,
but
man.
the easiest combination for doing this is to drop your dopamine, and then you do a journal on what habits you're going to track. And you just keep a journal of the stuff you're trying to do less of. So if it's like you suddenly binge video games and you didn't do what you needed to do that day, like get your car registered or go grocery shopping or whatever you had to do didn't get done, you just journal that. It's like, why didn't I do that? And I was too focused on the video games. And it sounds like stupidly simple, but keeping track of something like that will make
holding
you
yourself
realize,
accountable.
Start to see it add up.
It's just being responsible, but
Yeah.
you'll naturally want to do it more if you enjoy it a little more. And that's kind of the main principle behind it, is just replacing your bad habits with good habits. And so like a lot of the time, like I wake up and I go on like the meanest Facebook, just scrolling, like, just get my daily intake of dank memes.
First thing I do when I wake up is check my phone, man. It's the first thing I do.
It's like that's the first dopamine hit. But I've been replacing that because I've been saying for the longest time, like, I'm gonna stretch, I'm gonna get flexible, and I'm gonna start working towards planche, and I've had these physical goals I've given myself, but I've been saying that. Like, I looked back and I'm like, oh my God, it's been 9 years. I've been saying this for 9 years. Like, it's simple stuff. Like, yeah, just stretch, just keep yourself accountable. But like, if you don't naturally want to do it, then it won't get done.
Yeah.
So, and another thing with the dopamine, it's not an indicator of what you need to, like, because you'll know you need to work on your business and you'll want to work on your business, but dopamine tells you this is what you want, and there's no actual correlation between the two of what'll make you happy. Like, you're just going to these things because the dopamine takes you there, but typically you'll feel bad afterwards, like almost post-nut clarity bad.
No, I mean,
like if it's
no, it totally makes sense. I've talked a lot about this kind of stuff on the podcast in the past, but like I refer a lot of it to like one of the things that I really struggle with as far as dopamine spikes, not only electronics in my phone, but I struggle with like pot,
and
and what I explain to a lot of people is, the problem with things like the electronics or pot, or really just anything that you get addicted to, whether it be cigarettes or what have you, is your body's natural response is when you accomplish something, hey, here's some dopamine. Good job, man. You're doing good. But now when you're constantly replacing that stuff with like scrolling through TikTok or Facebook or smoking a blunt, all of a sudden your brain's going, okay, well, that was easier.
Well,
I don't need to do the other things now.
I think it's not like these things are inherently bad, right?
No, not at all.
It's not like with the dope. It's not like I'm saying like, yeah, video games is just, you just won't be able to focus on anything. It's like,
but you have to have a relationship with it, though.
If you just don't keep it in check, because like people, like, it was explained, like, you can use reading in an escapist way.
True.
You know, like it's really anything that it's more like how you use it in an escapist manner.
Anything used to excess can be a bad thing. It always just goes with
everything
that
in moderation.
Yeah, everything in moderation.
But
we run in a society now where we're all about, all or nothing. We're all about binging. We're all about getting all of our stuff all at once, all of that dopamine at once.
I would say like it's basically that, but it's just with a little more science behind it.
Sure.
It's basically saying, you just balance it out. like balance it out and
just remind your body
but
that's
like now,
like what it's like
now I'm like,
it.
yes, it's the dopamine. I knew it was something.
It
just gives me something to like to see,
But I hate when people say like, oh, well, we didn't like used to have, like, people didn't used to have these issues, and like all, because like we talk a lot about like, depression and stuff, and that comes from, this amount of dopamine you're constantly taking in, right? But and people go, oh, well, we never used to have this issue. Well, we didn't have like the phones and everything. We didn't have like all of these different outlets for it.
I would say there's a little more when it comes to stuff like depression and stuff like that, because there's a lot more factors that tie into stuff like that. But I feel like for the most part, at its base level, because it's like a compound effect. Where you'll be like, I know I really need to work on this, but I keep playing the video games and stuff like that. And I think once you're at that level where you realize like you just can't focus on what you need to do, because most people do actually know what they have to do in the moment to be pretty successful. Like most people know what they need to do.
It's just the execution.
They just can't. Well, they just can't act on it, and it's like, oh, well, I'm just lazy. I just can't do it. It's because your dopamine's more tied towards your whatever your escapist activity is,
right?
Rather than building, because that's what you want, the business you want to build, or you want to be more successful in your job or whatever. But the dopamine pulls are where your motivation is going, but you know that's not what's going to make you happy. You're going to keep playing it, and then in the back of your mind you're not working on what you need to, and if you don't know how to take the proper steps to curve that, it's going to keep doing it till at a point where you actually start to regret it a little bit in life. So I just do these dopamine detox to get ahead of it, because I could see how that could bring you to maybe a little bit of a depressed state if you keep not working on what you need to do versus just going back to your dopamine triggers.
But that's why I brought that up, just because like I just speaking like from experience, like I know from excess of those type of things, and like smoking too much weed, for instance, will eventually start sending you into a bit of a depression, because you're just constantly having that dopamine intake.
Oh yeah.
So I could definitely see how just doing that little detox just once, even just once a week, could really help bring you out of that mindset and just help you, help you compartmentalize things a little bit better.
Yeah. Cause I'm still like new to it and stuff like that. I've just started it myself. This has been my third detox day. And there are some days where, it's like I will say, like, the first day coming out, I'm like, oh, I've been tricked, I've been had. These things are designed to steal my dopamine, and I'm just gonna work on my business. And then, like, day 4, I'm like burning out.
Right.
It's like you can't just switch it off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but I do see gradual progress
That's
towards.
In just 3 weeks, I mean, that's good, and that you're already seeing progress. So.
Yeah, it's because I started keeping a journal. Like, I'm only really tracking 2 things, and it's like making sure that I journal at night, and then making sure I'm writing what I need to do on the whiteboard. Not if I actually do what's on the whiteboard at the moment, but
just the act of writing it down.
I'm just getting the habit, and typically sometimes I don't finish everything at the end of the day, but you'd be surprised how much it reminds me of stuff during the day. It's crazy how much it actually reminds me to, like, for instance, I wrote down this podcast, and like I just looked over and was like, oh snap, yeah, we gotta go do that. So it was like it's really helpful for stuff that I feel just helps plan out your day and keeps you on track a little more. And I gave myself a few goals. I didn't want to just be aimless. So I told myself I was going to learn Blender within 6 months to a reasonable level.
Right.
And I was going to do like a little short film thing. And it's nothing crazy, just in my room by myself. So that helps to keep me on track with like learning new editing techniques and stuff. So yeah.
That's what we were talking about just the other day, is just starting to do like little things like that, just to kind of, grease the wheels, so to speak.
Yeah. Break up the monotony.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm working on the YouTube channel. That was a big one. I do have a lot of cool stuff planned for the channel.
Yeah. Dude, I'm excited to see what you got going, because I know you're just in there cooking away.
Yeah, it's more Blender frustration right now. But I do have some cool ideas jotted down, and like Dave Matt's got the warehouse set up, and that thing's huge. All right, I went inside of it the other day, and I was like, Oh man, if we set up like some green screens here and like
How big is it?
oof, I'm not good with terms like this. It's big, right?
Is there like airplane hangar? Is
Huge.
it like an airplane hangar?
Or
Or is it more like a house?
I mean, you.
Is it like a big house?
No,
Like the size of a big house?
it's big. It's
big. It's really
big. It's huge.
You know,
I'll use my imagination. That's okay.
When he was listing those off, Austin, I just saw your brain just like, like you didn't even know what to do.
It's like,
I'm telling you,
options.
square feet and all that. Yeah, it's an acre. It's something like that. No, it's not.
Oh my gosh, I'm always like that with distances. Every time somebody's like, it's 3 miles, I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck that
Yeah,
means.
that
Like,
well, that I know. Like 3 miles, but when it's like, yeah, the house is so many square feet, I'm like,
like I have
picture.
no.
Is that a lot?
it's like this, like this.
So tell me what Blender is, because I've heard of Blender before, but it's a 3D animation software, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I just jumped into that one because it was free. But it does a lot of amazing things that a lot of high-end 3D software can do. I'm gonna mainly use it for world building and a little bit of VFX, but you can do like modeling, you can do animation, you can do you can do a lot, right? It's a video editor a little bit. It's a compositor. You can like run it crazy simulations in there. That's what I like. For me, I saw a dance video, AICP, I think it is. If you can
Is this
look
the
that
one
up.
you showed me
Yeah,
earlier?
yeah.
We'll put a link in the description, guys.
But it's a AICP dance video, and it's basically motion capture data that they put over these models, and then they take that data, put it in whatever 3D software suite they used, and like you could turn it into like a person's made of chocolate dancing, or they're just made of hair, or they're made of small little particle marbles.
This is the mocap stuff, isn't
yeah,
it?
It's mocap. Like that's one use of it.
Gotcha.
Ian Hubert. So he's the one that mainly inspired me to learn it, because he does a lot of the world building with the green screen stuff. And the way I want to use Blender is exactly how he uses it, but for like an act. So one of the cool things that I was trying to go for was that we could use Dave Matt's studio, light it a certain way, and then we would use the green screen footage of like a seer act, for instance, but we could put it in a sci-fi city on the top of a building or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Because that's not something you'd be able to see,
Right.
really anywhere else, or on a circus, any other channel I haven't seen it. Or like same with the AICP dance video. I'd like to do that, but it's circus stuff or tricking or a little bit of parkour. But now we have the motion capture stuff.
Right.
And right now I'm using a little Connect, and then I'm using Greco for the software to match up that motion capture, and then that'll send the BVH file to Blender.
Okay.
And then, so there it's like a pretty easy pipeline to send that kind of stuff. And the only wall I'm running into right now is actually rendering these things, because it takes an extremely long time to render these kind of simulations. So now I'm looking at sending it off to like one of those render farms where they have just servers of GPUs to renders people.
Those exist?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they do.
That's fantastic.
I was just gonna, crank up all my vertices and all that, and just send the highest quality thing I can. It'll cost more, but
Yeah, like how much would that send you back?
it depends. So like you can pay, I think it's like 30 cents, anywhere between 30 to 50 cents a GPU, and another 30 to 50 cents per GPU per hour. So you can do like one super good GPU and just however long that one takes, it's like sure. Or you can get like 10 to run, and then however many that takes. But that can build up a little quick, especially if it's like 50 cents a GPU per hour. So if you're looking at an 8-hour render, I mean, do the math on that.
Yeah.
You're using 8 GPUs and it takes 8 hours. That can build up.
Yeah, that blows my mind. I mean, it makes sense that these like render farms would exist, but I just never knew they did.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know it existed until I started using Blender. That's probably the only reason they use it.
Yeah, going on forums and people are like, no, man, don't try to render it yourself. When I was younger, I was really into computer animation, and my dad actually once, when I was younger, got me have you heard of Maya? The Maya computer animating software. Yeah. So I got that when I was like 13, 14 years old.
Oh, okay.
And was trying to fuck around with this. But I mean, I lost interest really quick because a lot of it was just way over my head.
Like I will say, I've been learning After Effects pretty in depth as well.
I have to start with After Effects. That's one for me. For years, I've been like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And I've yet to do it.
Get rid of them dopamine tricks.
Yeah.
But in After Effects, there's this dude, Chris Connor. He's heavy into like the Star Wars and anime, super anime dude.
Sounds like a good guy.
Let's go, Otaku unite. But he's super anime guy, and he does a lot of like these really nice green screen effects and black screen stuff, but he's doing it with like a Canon 70D, and I'm like, how is his stuff looking this clean, Like I've tried to do some green screen keying myself, and it's really tough. I have an 8-bit camera, a whole bunch of other technical reasons as far as space that I can't pull off a good green screen.
Right.
But this guy's doing this stuff in his room with a Canon 70D.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
And it's like I'd have to show you probably after this podcast, but the stuff he's doing is some top-notch stuff for what he's got, and he's just so good in After Effects. So I've really been studying his channel and trying to pull off these effects for myself, because if I can do these same effects but like something like Dave Matt's studio, where suddenly we have a huge amount to lay, like a 25-foot long black screen, that's suddenly going to be able to be pulled off on a massive scale to be used for a teeterboard act or something like that.
Right.
So you could apply a lot of the same concepts from his channel and just scale it up for Circus. And that's also what I'm looking for with this channel.
Okay.
But back to the main point. After Effects in itself. Jesus. After Effects in
tangents here all the time.
Yeah. After Effects in itself was relatively easy to learn. It's somewhat complicated. Like you do got to put some time into it.
Yeah, I've dipped my toes into it like once or twice, but like I said, it's just sometimes it's like just all at once.
It gets pretty technical once you're doing like those higher level compositing, and you want to learn how to do expressions and whatever. But that's tiny. Blender.
Oh, I'm sure.
When you get to Blender,
my word.
that thing.
Well, I was going to actually ask you about Blender, because I remember with Maya, like one of the, but before there were YouTube tutorials I could follow, it came with this giant tutorial book that I could follow. And I remember one of the first lessons on there was, we're going to make a gazebo. We're just going to make a nice looking 3D gazebo, right? Pretty trees. And I just remember like spending hours and hours, and they're like, go to this drop down. Now you're going to want to twist it 30 degrees this way on the x-axis while adding +2 on the z-axis, but not while doing. And I'm just like, in my like 13-year-old brain is like, what the fuck is going on?
A lot,
so like, is Blender similar to that, or is Blender more like, hey, I want a sphere, now make the sphere bounce?
Well, it's kind of like that. I would say it's pretty intuitive. It's a lot more beginner friendly. They've cleaned up their UI a lot.
Oh, that's nice.
Because I've downloaded it once before and instantly left. I've downloaded Blender before once, and I've downloaded Cinema 4D because I used to use them, because I used to make 3D titles back in the day when I had a little parkour channel. And I was like, yeah. And, like I was learning it just to render the titles, and then like at least with like Cinema 4D, it's like you hop in and it's like, oh, those are the letters. I can change it up there, and then I just have to render it. It's pretty simple,
right,
for the most part. That's all I did, right? Cinema 4D is immensely complicated as well. Up there, it's another 3D software, incredible potential, even more so than Blender, I think, right now. But Blender is always updating and
Cinema
developing.
4D.
But where was I going with this?
You talk about the simplicity of Blender.
There we go. The simplicity of Blender. They cleaned up the UI. But the tutorials in itself, like before when I tried to learn it, there were tutorials, but I feel like they're boring, you know?
Right. I mean, is there such thing as an exciting tutorial?
A lot of the time these days, like you can instant gratification, but it's good. It's in a good way, right? Because I can go into Blender and I'm like, I see that AICP video, right? And so in my head, I'm like, that's some kind of mocap. So I'm like, how to do mocap cheap. And it's like, oh, get an Xbox Connect. Get the adapter. Hook it up. Get this software that's free. And I'm like, oh my God, that was it. And then once you actually have it, you start learning more in depth about it. And what you can actually do and the implications, and you start learning about how certain softwares like remove the jittery stutter and mocap and stuff like that, so you can have accurate motion, and how you have to keyframe some of the motions that get messed up, which is a gnarly process. But then I immediately, like, I learned the mocap, right? So now I'm like, okay, how, like, I think the hardest part in it was finding the terminology to look up, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I have that issue all the time.
And so, like, I was like, Blender dance tutorial, maybe something will come up for the AICP video, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I couldn't really find much. And it's like, well, I see the hair movement. I think that's a simulation ran. So Blender dance simulation. Boom, I got like 3 YouTube tutorials on how to basically do like 3 of those effects in that video. And it's like, well, I have the mocap data. I have Blender for free. I have 3 tutorials that showed me how to do it. They're a little long, but if I follow these, I get something that might not be as good, but close to that result.
Right.
And like,
and then you just build on
you're
that.
You're streamlining this learning process by doing stuff like that. And for me, when I'm like, I'm so like into it, because I'm like, oh my God, I could easily do something like this for circus, like for tricking or for parkour or something like that. So once I saw how I could implement it, it was like, with the tutorials showing that they could provide something like this, it's really straightforward, versus if it was back in the day when I was trying this, and it's like,
a lot different.
You just kind of have to learn it. Like, here are your basic controls. It does this.
Now play
like,
with it until you do something.
Yeah, it's like, but this shows you how to get a creative result, and you learn a ton along the way, because right now it's on Blender like 2.8, and Blender 7.9, I think it is what most other tutorials on YouTube I find are still on. And so when I want to learn how to do something cool, but the UI is different, you know?
Yeah, I have
like,
that issue with like Avid.
I have to go back and like Google how to get this effect on a forum or something. And then I have to come back and redo the tutorial and then continue where I left off. But now when I did that method, it changed something. And then I have to like make that correlation. Like that's how you learn a ton.
Oh, I know it well.
You know?
I used to use I use Adobe Premiere Pro now, but I used to use Avid Media Composer for years and years and years. And the only reason I don't use it right now is because their software is not compatible with my laptop. So, and I couldn't wait, for them to get their shit together and updated. Yeah. So I just got Premiere, and now that's all I use. But I had the same issue with Avid. Was notorious for every version they came out with. They like not changed the way the UI looked per se, but where everything was and the way the buttons looked and stuff like that was all different, and they put things in different tabs. So it's like every time you upgraded, you had to like, okay, now I have to learn all of this stuff. And then when I was trying to find tutorials on how to edit things certain ways, I'm using Avid 7. All the tutorials for that particular thing are for Avid 4. So you have 3 different interface differences that you have to jump through now to try to figure out. And then just like you, it's like now you're going on the forum, but then you don't know what the names of things are. So you're like little purple button in lower right hand corner does this when I press
sequence
it.
playhead, that's what it is. No, I know that feel all too well.
Of editing.
But you got to be careful with Premiere Pro too, man, because they're on the Adobe CC Creative Cloud, and it's subscription based, and they are notorious for when they upgrade to a new version, it's gonna start crashing, right?
Is it?
You gotta save often when you're working on something.
But honestly, at this point, I've been doing this stuff on and off for like 10 plus years now, and it's like one thing I've learned is that all the software does that. It doesn't matter where you go. Like if Premiere Pro is crashing all the time, Avid's not compatible with your laptop. So it's like whatever, they all have their things and shit like that. One thing I do appreciate about Premiere though is if I have an issue with Premiere or anything with Adobe for that matter, I can write to Adobe, email them or call them or whatnot, and I'll get somebody who's speaks English from the States here, talking to me on the other side. Whereas like Avid, all of their stuff is allocated to India. So, you're talking to somebody with an Indian accent trying to tell you that their name's Chris or Jeff, and they're trying to take over your computer and don't know what the heck is going on and stuff, and then like the issue I'm having right now with Avid is I pay a yearly subscription to Avid. And so every month they're taking money out of my account and I still can't use it.
That's my gripe with Premiere Pro. It's like you're making a ton from the subscription stuff. At the very minimum, just give us a stable update. That's all I ask.
That's why I understand the benefits of having everything in the cloud, because we're getting to that point now where you don't own software anymore. You just, you pay the subscriptions for it.
That's a scary road.
But exactly. It's a scary road, and it makes things frustrating because when I would just buy software, it didn't matter how old it was. I knew that as long as it existed on this computer with these specs, I wasn't ever going to have issues with it. But now, just as you said, when everything upgrades and stuff, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
There was some times where I wouldn't have connection to my laptop and I would go to use Premiere Pro and it was asking me to log in, but it couldn't make a connection to do its verification process, so it put me on a trial version while I was on tour, and I'm like, oh my goodness, till I could get an internet connection.
Seeing it's stuff like that gets frustrating. And I mean,
super annoying.
I think it'll reach a head. I think at some point people are going to get, when everything is in the cloud, because right now there's a couple of holding on, but when everything's in the cloud.
Stadia did? Or not Google Stadia, but Google released, it was, I think it was
Stadia,
called
their video
Google
game
Stadia,
thing, right? Yeah.
And it was the gaming through the Chromecast.
Yeah.
And you would purchase games and you wouldn't download it to the Chromecast, but
you
it
would
was
just play it
connected
from the cloud.
Yeah, it would all be in the cloud.
I'm like with Steam, at least I downloaded the game.
Yeah. That was
account.
my thoughts exactly.
Like it's on my computer, but it's like I'm pretty sure they're about to kill this thing off already.
I was actually just going to ask you, like, I haven't heard anything about it since it came out.
They got a thing called Google Graveyard, where you can search and see all the stuff that they've killed off over the past.
Really? Probably Glasses Plus.
Yeah.
Stadia will be in there now.
Like, man, welcome to the club.
Oh, poor Google. They keep trying and trying. The only successful thing they've really had, like separate entity thing they've had was the phones. Yeah. They've even gotten some, little success with, but
the Google
but everything they come out with.
But like Google owns Android, so
that's true. Yeah.
I mean, do they really need to win in the phone market?
Yeah, but I feel like they really want to have like their iPhone. I feel like
I think just the
Google
phone market in general is really profitable. You got a lot of mid-tier companies competing. A lot of companies coming up, like OnePlus is coming up. I don't know how many people actually know about OnePlus.
I don't know about OnePlus.
I only learned about OnePlus through you guys when we were at Pirates.
I'm still on the OnePlus 6 here, and
is that what phone you have? Is
Yeah,
a OnePlus?
yeah,
Okay.
OnePlus.
So
And
is that a company that just makes smartphones, or they're like an actual phone?
OnePlus, I think, only makes smartphones. Don't quote me on
Right.
that. I'm not entirely
But
sure.
let me rephrase that. Like, do they have phone plans, or is it just like they just make phones?
I'm pretty sure they just manufacture the phones. They're working with T-Mobile in America, which is the only carrier I think you can get a OnePlus phone through. But they came up from mid-tier. Now you got companies like Xiaomi, I think Redmi. Like Redmi came out with a K20 Pro, something like that. Like these are cheaper phones. Like it's crazy because a lot of people will buy like the Samsung S20 or the newest iPhone or something.
Yeah.
But if you like search for a lot of these mid-tier brands, you can get some really crazy good deals for like $300-400 that are in those $1,000 phones. Like you could have the 108 megapixel camera with the Snapdragon
this type of
865
phone, yeah.
and 12 gigs of RAM and this $400 body. But people are like, they really just only know about those brands. But
Yeah.
People like what they're familiar with.
Yeah. Well, it's I think it's also a hassle aspect too, because I mean you could take somebody's word for, like a phone like OnePlus, but a lot of people, they're going to search, and find like 500 different companies that make, these phones, and then nobody wants to go through all of those and be like, hey, what's the specs for this one? What's the specs for this one?
Because I kind of stay in it myself still. But there's like it's like a whole network of YouTubers that are always constantly reporting on the newest phones and stuff that comes out, because there's some pretty cool gaming phones that people don't know about.
Oh yeah, there's one guy I follow. I can't remember his last name, but his first name's Michael. I know, but he does a lot. He's like probably one of the more infamous reviewers.
He used to be a dude with Pocket now.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, they constantly do stuff like that. So if you just follow one of them, the most popular one is either Unbox Therapy or MKBHD. Like you could follow those two and be pretty okay on what's coming out, and they're pretty easy to watch. You don't have to be like super technical to. Yeah,
that's a good idea. It's funny. There are so many times I Google things and then I just forget YouTube exists, and I could be like, "Oh, YouTube, how do you do this?" And I'll get pictures.
Well,
with it.
typically, because Google owns YouTube, if you Google something, there'll be a few YouTube videos.
Oh yeah, sometimes I'll
YouTube
get
thing.
that. Sometimes I'll get that, but I like to word things in a very obnoxious way too. Sometimes on Google.
There was a video where they had how people Google stuff, but it was like in person.
I saw that. There's a guy named Google sitting at a desk.
And people are reading him the
and
questions.
The guy walks. He goes like porn.
I remember that. Yeah, dude.
Or like, am I dying?
Right. Backs hurt, can't eat.
People ask questions like they do on Google.
Yeah, well, I'll have to show you the video after the podcast. It's pretty funny. I'm pretty sure you've seen it too. I think you know what we're talking about.
You haven't seen that?
I don't think I have.
That's some quality stuff. Quality stuff.
Just infamous things that people have like Googled and things, and like I mean I do it too, where people just forget their like prepositions between words and stuff. It's like box big, can't carry. Why?
Bro, 'cause I feel like that's how it searches. Just get your keywords in, and
those
like
keywords,
it sometimes comes up in like the middle of a sentence in a forum, and I'm like, this guy knows exactly. And you find that forum, and
that'll happen to be so. So I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, and so anytime something's wrong with me, I'm just like Googling all of my symptoms and stuff like that. And I'll type in Google searches like that, and I'll do that like mole big on back, why cancer ? And I'll always like find people. Yeah, and I'll always
a level with Google.
Oh, for sure.
You don't want to Google your full symptoms because you might think you're dying.
Oh, trust me. Regardless what symptoms you type in there, you're going to think you're dying.
I like to do mine a little easier. That'll ease me into what I probably actually have. But if I start with what I actually have,
then it just moves its way.
Like you just be like, flu symptoms.
Yeah.
Oh, that's testicle cancer. That's gone on for too long.
But that's exactly what would happen to me. Is I would Google things that way, and then like I feel like I have to get more creative with the way I'm typing things into things. And I know I can find my other fellow hypochondriacs because then I'll find somebody who like worded something the exact same way that I did. So they're the first thing that comes up. It's like, oh, there was somebody else who typed in, mole, big, back, cancer, question mark.
Bro, it's crazy. I don't know how many people that type in the forums know how much they save people like me who don't actually ever contribute to the forums. I'm like reading the thread, like a lot of times I'll have a computer problem and I'll type it in and it's someone that's in that thread that has that problem and I'm like, oh my God, thank God this guy saved my life. And then the people who are actually contributing to that forum, right. I don't think those people know how much they actually help people, dude.
That's so much. That is a good point. You're right. I don't even think I've ever contributed to any forum. But
like if you probably typed a question on Google at some point and in a forum or something, you might have helped way more people than you know.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah, I personally have gotten so much help from those, especially in college.
Dude, that's that roundabout contribution. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. But yeah, I always get so excited when I go on those forums. I'm like, oh my God, this guy has the same issue that I have. Or I'm just like, oh, I'm not the only one. Thank God, especially when it comes to things like editing and stuff. Because there'll be so many times I'm working on some of these pieces of software and I'm just like, am I a fucking idiot? Like, why isn't this working?
No,
why isn't this importing?
It's crazy how many people, especially like, because a lot of editors, I think, even at a professional level, still go to YouTube a lot of the times to learn how to do a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh,
there's a lot of moving
like I don't
parts.
know, like the thought comes that like, oh, they're professionals, and it's like, nah, we still gotta YouTube everything. Like we just
anyone
don't know
you
this
think
stuff.
has like it all together, they too, they're Googling.
Yeah, it's like those After Effects and Premiere Pro accounts that are tutorials, man, they be saving lives
all the time.
saving lives.
Yeah, thank God those YouTubers exist.
Oh yeah. Like it's helped enormously with how fast we can learn stuff, and I feel like it's better now than ever to jump into like filmmaking.
Oh yeah,
like the market's just saturated with a lot of cameras.
Oh yeah, and there's so many openings now.
Yeah,
you can go in through YouTube or Instagram or
So many people blow up from their short films. They don't got to go to film festivals or anything like that. They just blowing up, making good stuff.
I have this prediction that I've made before, and that is that aside from some of the major careers like health and like engineers and things like that, for the most part you're either going to be a celebrity or working for one. It's just that's kind of the point we're getting at. I feel like with just everybody, everybody's kind of fighting for this. For being the content king almost.
Well, yeah, there's
not really.
Just in that community though, but
that's in one area. I think if you don't make it in the content creation, whether it's through the Twitch, the YouTube, or the Instagram, what do they call them? What's the word I'm looking
Influencer?
Influencer.
Yeah.
There it is. If you're trying to
I was
be
thinking
an
social
Instagram
media
influencer. But there's tons of other markets that are making money. Like if you're in app development, you can easily be your own boss. Like,
yeah.
But it's I definitely agree with you in the sense where it's like we'll all be revolving around this community. Like even if you're
that's a good
even
way
if
to
you're
put
a
it.
garbage man, it's gonna be so easy for you to be like, hey, what's up, my fans out there? I'm taking out the garbage. You see it with Walmart.
Like
workers.
there's going to be celebrities for every niche.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's like if you like garbage men, or you're interested, you have like some fascination. You're gonna watch that garbage man's channel. Stuff like that.
But
you're
how
gonna
big
be
is that target audience really?
Well, that's why I'm saying, but just like what, and I mean,
it's not a big audience, but there might be an audience.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
That's why I'm saying, like every niche.
I will say, I came I came across some videos that was like this dude who just knew how to detail a car really well.
Yeah.
And he would bring in these ultra dirty cars, and I'm not gonna lie, some satisfying stuff to watch. Dude's got like 900K subscribers, and
Oh yeah,
I saw
well,
him get
dude.
famous on YouTube. Simply, he works at Walmart, and he would do like videos on his breaks of just dumb crap that happened at his Walmart.
See, now
and then
that-
he
so
became
that's-
famous that way.
So that's what I'm talking about. So like even in the sense of like the garbage man like analogy that he was using earlier, it's like but you'll have garbage men around the country, you know, who are old, spending their time when they get home on YouTube or the internet or something, and there's that guy, you know. And I guarantee you that guy will be making money in some way, shape, or form. Just like how I guarantee there's a lot of Walmart employees out there who follow this guy and are able to relate to this guy.
They relate to
how
it.
many are gonna blow up really?
Well, they'll blow
like,
up within that community. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not going to be like rich and famous
No,
by
no.
any means, but I mean, like, but
But
you'll
everyone will
those
have their
niches.
fan base.
Yeah,
And with social
Maybe.
media and
I'm
YouTube,
gonna have to see that one play out a little more.
But it's just
for sure,
I-
for sure, for sure.
I mean, clearly, it's a long way off from that becoming that. But I mean, imagine, a world where we do have like that technology, where it's in your eye now, like the Black Mirror crap, where you can just
Yeah.
film something, upload
I
it
will never.
immediately.
Ever.
But I'm saying, imagine,
that.
We'll be the old people where the kids are like, you guys are so old. You guys have to like get with society. I'm like, no,
Right,
not in
I'll
my
be
day.
like, hey, no.
I mean, it
And
won't
then
be
it's
in
gonna
our
skip
lifetime.
like 20
but-
years. I'm gonna be like having trouble, and they're like, look, we can fix that, dude. Just put a chip.
Like,
Alright,
nope.
shit.
But I mean, that's why you gotta love
You tell me I
shows
get
like
my
Black
vision
Mirror.
back.
Because
That's how
Black
they gonna
Mirror
get
sits
you.
there and asks those questions. It goes, "What if?"
But no, I think that's where we're going. I think there's going to be, especially as things get more automated and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think we're going to get to a point to where it'll be weird because it won't be celebrities anymore. Because I feel like the term celebrity will become so saturated with how easy it is to get clout
We're gonna
anymore.
be influences.
Yeah, influencers,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
already become
All
that, yeah.
influencers.
Celebrities, like the term celebrities, is gonna be saved for like the gods, but the Kardashians of the world.
Negative. This has already been flipping. I'm seeing more celebrities making YouTube channels now.
I guess that's true.
Because
You're right.
I'm seeing Will Smith got a channel that's blowing up.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Kevin Hart.
No,
Oh, fuck.
the one we were watching.
The sound guy,
Yeah.
Kevin
Oh, James.
James.
Kevin
There you
James.
go,
Kevin James. He got a YouTube channel.
Doing,
that's
they're
popping.
all loving like things like Netflix and YouTube because they don't have to go through like the studios and crap to put up their
Oh yeah,
content.
and
Yeah.
those are blowing up.
Yeah.
Oh man, all those companies are killing it right now during the quarantine.
Oh, yeah.
All of them
Big
killing
time.
it. And it's crazy, like Netflix, and because like right now, I feel like just the way society is going, it's like more entertainment driven now than like it's ever been.
Yeah.
And like I was looking at a YouTube video on the chart, and like for a while, like the most profitable top 5 companies were all oil companies. And like now it's changed over to Apple, Facebook, Microsoft.
All
was,
tech
like,
companies,
huge.
yeah.
Microsoft was huge up there. Like I
Yeah.
didn't even realize they had it like that. And then- but like it was all the oil companies like that's no longer the most profitable. And like what's most profitable is your data these days. Like,
Yeah.
like they say data is the new oil,
Yeah,
And it's like
I believe it.
everything's always trying to track a cookie on you. Everything's always trying to make the ads relevant to you. Like they're tracking where you're scrolling. Ooh, I think it's
Just kick the camera there.
the camera's going down, boy. But yes, they're tracking everything you're doing. I think Amazon like molds your shopping habits to keep
That makes
placing
sense,
product
yeah.
like any data that they can get and keep on you is like super valuable.
Yeah.
So like
Data
that's
mining's
the
a
new
big thing
commodity
right now.
And then you got what was Cambridge Analytica, I think it was, that they were found was working with Facebook.
Oh yeah.
And they were leaking a ton of people's data
Oh, shit.
to this company, and it's
I don't know how I feel about that though, because like on one end, I understand people getting angry about their data being handed out or sold to these other companies. But at the same time, I feel like, at least this pertains to me, I feel like this pertains to a lot of people. I've signed up for a lot of things. I've had to put my email and a lot of different things over the years. 98% of them I'm going to argue I don't even use anymore. So it's like what's wrong with people giving out your data because at this point your data's giving out anyway. But you kind of give that up, I feel like, the second you sign up for a Gmail or a Facebook. You know what I mean?
With your privacy?
Well, I mean, but your data is all being collected, though, I feel like.
I feel like it's a little invasive if it's
it's not so much
like
about
a social media
them
company
selling it.
I feel like it's a little invasive if it's something like a social media company because, like, let's say your daughter or something has a social media and they see her habits and they're collecting data on your daughter and they target her with toys or maybe stuff that they know she'll like.
Right.
And them just being able to know everything or what they want to know about or about me. Same thing with Google tracking the location. I feel like these things happen gradually.
Right.
And they ask a little more and a little more. And then you get stuff that it's like, boom, suddenly someone hacks it or suddenly someone gets access to your data that can be used for the wrong reason.
Them pushing it to a point, where someone's gonna finally like use it for the wrong reason.
I just feel like you're already like signing up for any of these social media sites are already at high risk.
At this
for
point
that.
in our lives, it's kind of already too late. They know a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Like it's.
Like,
I feel
too
like
late
it's
for us,
I
but
feel
maybe
like
not
it's
for-
universally known that your phone's listening to you, but
Yeah.
like people are just kind of like
Whatever
apathetic
about
to
it.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's like fuck it, like
ignorance
they're
is
listening
bliss.
anyway.
But that's exactly what I mean. I mean, maybe it'll be better for future generations. Maybe it's just too late for us.
It
but-
shouldn't be okay. I
Right.
don't think it should be okay.
Right.
That they're listening like this, but there's such a feeling of like, well, what can I
Like
do?
what? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
think
so
that's what.
overwhelming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what Adam
I
was
think
saying.
that's more of what I'm saying.
I think if you just
is-
like fully give into it, that might steamroll into something we're not.
you're right.
It's about
You're
about not giving them just not giving it up.
But I mean,
Like,
they're
it's about
gradually,
the principle.
they're gonna gradually do it anyway. And,
Yeah.
that's a scary thing to think about.
True.
But,
I guess
then
I'm just more in the mindset of like just like
yeah,
they're gonna
'cause
do it
I see
anyway.
you-
What the fuck ever.
You're like, bring it on, man.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if we get to where Thomas is at and we got the things in the eyes, I gotta watch a 30-second ad before I can fall asleep.
Speaking of which, I've seen more and more of these like testing videos of them putting like these chips in people now.
Yeah, but they had the employee office and they're putting the chips. And
And they're like, look, I can get a Coke from the vending machine just by scanning my arm.
Bro, I'm gonna go a little bit conspiracy theory, but
Dude, by
I
all
feel
means.
like I feel like they're doing it on purpose.
For sure. Is that even
Bro,
conspiracy at this
Bro,
point?
I'm like, you're doing it on purpose because you know people who are super hard with super hard Christians and really any religion. You don't even got to be religious to be like, I'm not taking that,
Yeah.
But like even more so, it's like they're playing into the chip thing, and it's like, yeah, you gotta get chips, and it's like riling everybody up. And I'm like, damn well nobody getting that chip. Just from
Nobody's getting
the
anything
stigma, just from the
into
stigma of it. You know,
Oh, my
damn
word.
well nobody.
I don't
getting
know.
that
A
chip.
lot of people today are willing to do things in the name of whatever, cause they're fighting for. And if somebody tries to coat that in a thing of like, it's for safety reasons. I see a lot of people being like, whatever, let's just get the chip. Everyone will be safer.
Negative. I feel like that is a
so we
line
can keep
that
track.
they are not ready to cross right now.
I'm in agreement with you. But I know some people out there would be like, oh, it's going to keep everyone safe. You know what? Put 4 of them in me. Let's do this.
Holy smokes. Holy smokes, no. Then you got stuff like, what was it? Equifax that got the breach, and it was like 180 million like Americans that had their credits stuff just out into the wind.
Hello, world.
And I'm like, bro, you never know when these hackers are gonna hit. You know what I'm saying? Like, like we all getting this chip, and
it seems like everyone gets hit eventually too. So why wouldn't the chips get hit eventually?
Right. I'm talking anything. Like why would you put that on yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like, like even if it was like a little RFID chip that just read data on whether you were, I don't know, vaccinated or not, or maybe it's got a little code on the RFID that lets you buy some chips from the vending machine. like is that all that's worth to you? Like to get yourself chips, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
it's probably just the aesthetic of it at the end of the day,
it's like,
right?
It's like, yeah, I can get into the door a little easier. I can pay a little faster.
I don't even have to pull out my wallet. It's such a time saver.
It's like, yeah, you just scan this and, you know, the security, we can let you in the building. I'm like, that's what you have security cards for. You know what I'm saying?
Like we already have this technology. What are we doing?
Why are you putting it in you?
Have you heard of Elon Musk's like Neuralink?
Yeah, Neuralink.
Yeah.
Where they put it and it's like the little it can go into it and stimulate the pulses.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
supposed to help
supposed to be, like,
paraplegics and stuff.
And it was supposed to like, you could send the signals that you needed to like move a limb or something. That you've been paralyzed. And I'm like, what if we go to extreme example? What if we go to war and an EMP drop? Or all the paraplegics
or
like,
cyber war, you know, they just decide, you know, we're just gonna hack into every American that has a Neuralink, you know.
Like I'm not entirely sure like what the interface with that would be, but there's clearly some input of data that has to be given. You know?
For sure.
So it's like if that is tampered with, there's no telling because it would be so attached. Like what if something misfires, like and it just messes something up?
Well, the thing that scares me the most with the Neuralink is I do believe at first it will start as a health thing, right, to help paraplegics or help people move their limbs, whatever it may be, but I think it's going to get to a point where the technology will get more advanced, and all of a sudden you're going to have more and more people getting Neuralinks in them for whatever reason, right?
The thing with that was Elon Musk was saying he wants this to be a bridge between human and AI,
right?
So you can be able to receive and process information on top of the, you know, adding them movement, paraplegics and stuff. And if that was the case, and he actually goes about doing that, you almost wouldn't have a choice in whether or not you would get the Neuralink, because you would be left so far behind if you didn't, as far as how society would operate, that I feel like you would have to get it at some point.
You'd either have to get it, or I could see this happening too. I could see a lot of people just banding together, being like, we're not getting that, and going and living off by themselves.
I was gonna say,
Suddenly
you're gonna have nomads.
You're gonna have like a separate society of people without these Neuralinks or anything that choose to live, you know, a life without the technology embedded in you.
But here's the case with that: if they were able to pull off a merge of AI, they would be moving at such a faster rate and leaving us behind. You would kind of be at the mercy of whatever they decided to do, you know.
I mean,
exactly.
And people would still fight it though. People would still.
No doubt. But when you're dealing with something like that, if you're dealing with something that can, you know, if I could pull up a Google search just thinking about that mug, we're gonna be operating way faster than you guys are, as far as what we're able to process.
And it's like, do you even need
if you
schools
really
at that point, if you have access to knowledge, you know?
Well, that would be the argument.
I'm like, would you really challenge something like that? Somebody that could outthink you on that level that quickly, that's merged with AI. And then you get somebody with bad intentions that gets this.
So that's what I was going to bring up, is I feel like just how people are apathetic right now to their phones listening in on them. I think you'll get to a point to where in the early days, before where you have to think a little harder to like Google search something in your head, but you'll have people who like all of a sudden they're like, why do I want red shorts all of a sudden? I'm going to go get some red shorts. And there's going to be this like question of like, well, I just watched, I watched a commercial about red shorts today. Like, are they all of a sudden
like Inception seed planting?
Yeah, exactly. Or remember Futurama where they would dream and then there would be advertisements in their dream, cutting back and forth.
Where it was like they had like it was the soldiers, and they would go out and kill the roaches with which
yeah.
were just people
Guys,
that
they make the enemy
Yeah,
look
like a ugly
aliens.
roach or something.
Yeah.
And
to
then
make 'em easier to
when you
kill.
would go to sleep, they would hit you with your sweet dreams. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like you would get the girl of your dreams, and y'all just be.
So you wouldn't.
It would be like how far from that would we be really if Neuralink became a thing? You know
for
what I'm
sure.
saying?
Yeah.
Like Black Mirror be
That's a
doing some
scary
scary
episode.
stuff, man. Like like that social credit system.
Nosedive.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's
And
so
Nosedive
creepy.
where the
5
people were
stars,
rating
5
each other, you
stars,
know?
Yep.
And then it was like, I was like, oh man, they're so fake on that, dude. And
I
it's
could
like,
see that.
I mean, that's
but then
almost
you look at
everybody's-
China. China has that exact
Yeah, they have it
same
right
system.
now.
It's
They
like
have it-
you
yeah.
can't get health care if your score's too low. You get knocked if you look at porn.
It's
you
like a
get,
credit
you get
score on
knocked if you're like
steroids.
if the cameras
Yeah.
catch you
This
eating junk
exists.
food and stuff, dude. Like it.
And it dictates what you're allowed, like what
Yeah,
kind of
like
housing
you
you
can't
can
get a train ticket if your score too low, bro.
Oh,
like
fuck
that's
that. Oh my god.
yeah.
And-
China got it going on.
Yeah,
man.
China.
Oh my
China's taking. I feel like China's just taking over the world under everyone's noses. So we're just taking a little bit of this.
It's not under
this.
anyone's
South
nose,
Park
like,
was
they're
killing
doing
me
it
with
in
those
front of
China
everyone.
episodes, man.
Which one?
South Park.
Oh,
And they was calling
know.
them Winnie the Pooh and everything
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
And everybody was trying to get the Chinese market. And, there was actually, I read this article not so long ago that was about like all these changes that were in. This was actually specifically about the Marvel movies, but there was a lot of changes that were made to Marvel movies
Because of
China
China.
said no,
Yeah,
don't do
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
The most notable one I can remember is in Doctor Strange. They got Tilda Swinton to play the monk.
Yeah.
And I guess in the comics, it was like a Chinese, not a Chinese monk, but like somebody the Chinese don't like. I can't remember what exactly it was, but I think it was like a race the
Taiwan
Chinese
monk?
did. Yeah, something like that.
It was a man too in the comics.
Yeah, but the Chinese didn't like it, and they said, "No, Disney, you can't do that." And because China is a big market for especially Disney.
Yeah.
like they changed.
Well,
it for China.
hence all the jokes with Marvel
Yeah.
like being at
like I think it was where like Randy was trying to
China.
write something. and
Yeah.
then-
Yeah. Oh,
no,
yeah,
it was
yeah, the South
Stan
Park.
trying to write the music thing.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
their
yeah,
music
Chinese
autobiography flick.
They're standing over him like,
Yeah.
nope, can't do that.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's seriously kind of where we're getting at this point. It's another one of those things. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Or it's not even that
I
China
mean-
was like, no, you can't do that, but they're like, you can't sell movies in our country if that's in there. And we're so desperate to get the Chinese market because their population is so crazy.
Well, every time they have a hip movie, it sells out. It hits every record that like America's ever set because they
Yeah.
just have so many people.
yeah.
Yeah.
in their
That's
country.
exactly why they will do anything to market to China.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty greedy how much we play to that market.
It really is.
It's pretty bad.
But I honestly think I think
kinda
Hollywood is on their way out. I think that especially with this coronavirus stuff and LA being closed for another 3 months, I think there's.
I don't think it all happens in LA. I think it's all Atlanta now.
Well,
that's what we mean,
but it's all like centraled out of Hollywood,
Yeah.
though. They're sending people to Louisiana and Atlanta and all these places to do work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Most of their casting is still done in
yeah,
LA.
but I mean with all of their with all the controversy with like the Harvey Weinstein stuff, amongst a plethora of other things, I just think Hollywood is on their way out as far as all of that is
A
concerned.
lot of just bad stuff coming out about the whole inner circle that is Hollywood's
Yeah.
elite.
So I think it's going to be more indie, filmmakers that are start making more content that gets bigger. I mean, the Oscars are a perfect example. People don't really watch the Oscars.
They don't, but I
anymore.
mean, like you have. I feel like the infrastructure of how Hollywood works is definitely going to be around. There's always going to be the celebrities and stuff.
Oh, for sure. They
You're
set a
gonna have your-
foundation for sure.
and it's just moving more like movies are still the big releases and stuff like that, but it's like it's really series driven, I feel, with a lot of these streaming platforms. But you still have your celebrities that come from that, and you still have the Hollywood culture that comes with that. I think it's just maybe shifting a little more that way versus it being your traditional, it's the movie stars and then.
True. I mean, I would agree that Hollywood has transitioned more into the series and TV stuff, still doing the movies, as you said, but they've, dipped their feet into that stuff now too.
With the streaming services, it gives them greater access to that type of material.
But I think the whole, I just don't think Hollywood is going to be the big wig anymore. I think it's going to stay the
big wig until deep fakes and the CGI stuff gets a little better. Once we start getting to, because it's every year something gets a little better and it gets a little creepier. I've seen some gnarly good deep fakes and I've seen some gnarly good face CGI that's like,
it's
like
wild.
we might not need the actor. We can.
That's true. Well, and speaking of graphics, have you seen the
Unreal Engine 5?
Yes.
I have.
Oh my word!
Yes, I have.
Holy
Wow.
shit!
Yep.
Yes, I have. That stuff has got it going on.
Oh man, what was so wild about watching that video? Oh, and for those who don't know, we're talking about PlayStation 5 released this gameplay tech video of the Unreal Engine 5, and they just showed some demo footage that was just unreal. But
there you go.
But they what I thought was craziest about watching it is I remember watching the gameplay footage for The Last of Us when it first came out. And I remember looking at that with friends and going, wow, the graphics are just getting crazy. And then all of a sudden you look at this and you go back and you watch the original gameplay footage of The Last of Us and you're like, God, look at that blocky ass fucking jittery footage.
I don't know. Last of Us always looked okay to me.
Oh, it still does, but if you compare it to that demo now, it doesn't even match.
I mean, that demo's that's a really good engine.
Yeah,
they did some really good work with that engine. I messed around with Unreal Engine 4 very briefly, but even then, that I see the people that make the Unreal Engine games, but it'll be like a remake of Dragon Ball Z or something.
Yeah, or Pokemon.
They do it in Unreal and it looks all cool and high def, but Unreal Engine 5 takes that to because you can make really good scenes like that in Unreal or in Blender and stuff, but you'd have to render that scene out and you'd have to play it as a video. That's running in real time.
Oh, yeah, it couldn't be a game. It'd have to be just video.
Unreal is running in real time. And so to do that in real time is what makes it so impressive with all the ray trace lighting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that thing's next level, man.
But I mean, with that, and then you put people in there that look as real as they do, with the deep fake stuff.
I don't think Unreal can bring you to that level of photorealism.
Oh, not yet.
Right out the gate, But
we're doing it with scenery pretty well. I think we still have a little bit to go for people, though.
Just the technology every year, though, just seems to take these huge leaps.
Yeah, when you think it can't anymore.
Yeah.
That's what amazes me. It's I always think, okay, here's the peak. And it's nope, we're doing this now.
Right.
It's
and then you got to look at every time your Intel or AMD's processing power gets a little better with a new release or something like that. It makes the deep fakes that come with that much better and that much more believable.
Right.
I think on some porn sites they have it's deep fake porn.
I've seen some of those.
If you get enough pictures and stuff, videos of a celebrity, they put the face on the porn star. And it's
there's whole compilation videos of them now. Not that I would know, but they exist. I'm sure they exist though.
I'm telling y'all, 7 minutes in, the face just slightly warps off, but other than that, you can.
You made it 7 minutes in.
It's hard
to tell. Oh my word! It's true though. I've seen I remember the first one I saw of that in regards to the porn thing. It was actually a GIF that somebody shared on Facebook before before Facebook was able to take it down. But it was of Jenna Fisher, the girl who played Pam in The Office. And I remember like seeing this GIF, and I was like, did the Pam girl really do a fucking like sex tape? Like, cause that's like good on her if she did, you know. But then I found out it was deep fake. I mean, and that was like my first introduction actually to any of it. And I started like, what's this deep fake stuff? And I went onto YouTube and I saw all this stuff like this. I saw one video that was basically looked like Vladimir Putin was just giving a speech, and then they like tore away all the layers and stuff of it to show that it was somebody else. And I was like, what the like that's scary. That is like scary.
You got, you know, Photoshop that can make your photos pretty hard to distinguish if you put in a good amount of effort to them, you know? Like you can make a photo almost believable for something that didn't happen.
For sure.
And then you got stuff like the CGI and the deep fakes, and, you know, people getting a little better with the face modeling and stuff like that, that makes it a little hard to tell the face. So now it's like, well, now we just need the voice.
Yeah.
You just need the software.
And some people are really good at the voice too.
I think there might be some with software coming for voice with Adobe. Don't quote me on that, but
well, there's these guys that do these deep fake videos, and they, you know, and they have fun with it. And one I see a lot, and I think they do this one because this guy can do this voice well, is they have like it's like George Lucas constantly talking shit about Star Wars, you know, but it's not George Lucas, it's deep fake.
So, like they had this fake Tom Cruise on Corridor Digital, right?
Okay.
And, you know, it was like super short Tom Cruise. But then there was another video where it was like that Tom Cruise, the guy that can do like the Denzel Washington impersonation pretty good, but they had all of them deep faked. Like they had all these celebrities deep faked at a table, and they were talking, you know, just stupid stuff.
I think we're talking about the same thing, because I think George Lucas was one of the ones there. So that same guy who did the George Lucas ones, he makes these videos of him just talking shit about Star Wars, you know.
Yeah,
and,
dude, it's some good stuff.
Oh,
but it's like, it's a joke now. But
yeah, exactly.
Give it like 10, 15 years.
Until somebody hacks into the news networks, and all of a sudden the president's giving a speech that he's not actually giving. And
yeah, then you get into some fucked up territory there.
Exactly.
I think they said they got software, again, Adobe. It might be Adobe that like is going to be used for detecting deep fake.
That makes sense.
Videos.
It
you
probably
know,
has something to do with
imperfections in the face and stuff like that. So that's hopefully up to snuff. But
every single time we come up with those things, there's the same people going like, how can we combat this little speed bump here?
Oh yeah. It makes your it makes the software that much better, which means you got to make the detection that much better, and it's a
war. It's a constant war.
But I mean, here's the thing, it's like, this is at the consumer level that we can do this, you know. Once you start talking about like government framing, there's nothing to say like they couldn't like go and frame a Pakistani soldier that they say shot at them to engage in combat, and it's like, no, we got the video right here. Well, that's like now you can suddenly say like, you know, that
get into some real dangerous
territory.
territory.
You're getting into some shifty territory, because now you're hitting us with something that's like, well, they shot at us, you know, we need to go to war with them. But
it goes back to like that Black Mirror, making your enemy look like roaches or something.
Well, and what gets extra scary about that is, as we've seen as technology moves forward, you know, the younger and younger kids are able to figure out technology that, you know, is a lot faster, a lot easier. So what happens if we reach this point where 12-year-olds can figure out how to deep fake a video? You know, because maybe it just gets so easy now where you're like, just drag Vladimir Putin's
I think
face on
they got
someone.
the app out for free.
There you go.
I think you can just get the deep fake. Right, bullying finna be on a whole new level.
Oh my gosh,
Bullying finna be on a whole new level if that's accessible like that.
Oh,
holy smokes.
And that's gonna change the game.
That's
yeah,
God
help us.
And then I'm sure whatever the technology is gonna be like, you're gonna be dopamine locked into that, because it's gonna be so, you know, so advanced and so good. And then just I don't even want to think about how the interaction is going to go down. In
We
the
may be
future.
alive for
Future,
it, so
guys.
who knows? We may get
The
to see it.
future.
It'll be,
It's gonna be interesting.
yeah, it'll be fun.
For sure.
Well, on that note, we are. Oh yeah, we're like an hour and a half into this.
Oh,
Look
geez.
at us! Look at
holy
us! Look at
smokes.
us! Usually we end this around an hour just because it starts to get super hot in here, but it actually
good.
did all right today.
Yeah, we're
it's
not
just
really
now
bad.
starting to get like, uncomfortable. But all right, but we're gonna go ahead and end this today. Remember, guys, you can follow us on all the social media platforms. That is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, even all of them. And Austin, where can people follow you, man? Where can people see your work?
Oof. We got one video out on AB Filmz Circus.
All right, all right.
Then,
We'll put a
like,
link in the
3
description.
random Instagram clips on the page.
It's called
That's
AB
all.
Filmz Circus.
Yeah.
Okay. And
AB
like Thomas
Filmz
said, we'll put it in
Circus.
the description for people to check
Cool,
out.
cool.
Well, Austin, thank you so much, man, for coming on today,
Yeah,
dude.
man,
It's
this
such a
was
joy
fun.
talking to you about
Yeah.
how bleak the future is. And I am
we
gonna
gonna
try
make
that
some Black
dopamine
Mirror stuff.
detox thing. And,
Yeah, man,
see
try
how
it
that
out.
works
I
too.
suggest looking up some videos, proper ones.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. We
On
looked
it,
up, just really quick, we looked up one earlier before Austin came over. It was like this guy going like if you have issues where you're just constantly working super hard towards your goal, and then he was like,
Yeah,
try
no.
this. And I'm like, I do not relate
that's
to that
what we
at
want.
all.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we want. Yeah, the dopamine detox supposed to help you do that. But,
All right. Any final thoughts, Austin?
no, I think I'm pretty done.
Be careful with your technology, guys.
Be careful with your
an
technology.
eye on it.
Good.
Hey, it might make Circus sick in the future too, though.
That's true. That's
might be
true.
sick.
That's true.
Follow AB Films and find out. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.